My name is Dr. David Amron. I am the host of Lippy Logic at the Lippy Lounge. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. This series is about lipedema and education for it, but I'm going to take the opportunity to get a little more philosophical in today's segment. And the title of the segment is Inspiration. And I am 61 years of age, and I've realized as I've gotten older that one of the most important things that I can give to others is inspiration in my life. To inspire them. Inspire means to take in and breathe deeply, but I can inspire them to be better people and do better things. Certainly my children, I want to inspire. But as I look back at my life and my journey in my own life, I look back at my inspirations and those that guided and led me with who they were as people. When I was a little kid, I remember I was 9 years old. I really physically remember this. I was in the doctor's office. We had a family doctor. His name was Harvey Raskin. I was there with my parents. I was like 8 or 9 years old. And I was really kind of taken by this guy that we would see every few months, and just his demeanor and the white lab coat. And that was really my first kind of desire to be a doctor and to do what he did. It was cool, it was interesting, it was different, and to help people. And I also realized around that time that even as a little kid, I used to watch a lot of biographies and was very interested in people and their development or what they've done in their lives with things. And they were inspirations to me. The first one, and it kind of falls in different categories, I realized in my journey. It began with looking for people or things that were meaningful and righteous, and people that were my inspirations with that early thing, even as a child, were people like Martin Luther King and Gandhi, just as exemplary human beings. You know, I see that in my children now. My children, you know, even my daughter Abigail is 9 years of age, and she already starts appreciating people who are doing great things in their life, even at that age. So I remember watching biographies on Gandhi and MLK and being like, wow, that's really great and cool. I then started getting interested in science and understanding. You know, the science has always intrigued me. It was a kind of very spiritual, godly thing, science. You couldn't argue with science, and you know, things about planets and even physics and stuff like that. I began to be very intrigued by Einstein. I think he was an amazing individual that was definitely inspiration in terms of pursuing understanding with science. I then went into realizing that people that were like inventors and were involved in design and engineering were inspirations of mine too. Design is hugely important. You know, I began to realize that even what I'm doing with the work I'm doing is very much about design, designing a process, understanding things. People like Edison, which was an inventor, and Da Vinci were amazing designers in terms of how they went about and did things. You know, liposuction, we've talked about this in other segments, was very much designing. I did this series with the BBC, a guy named Louis Theroux, who I'd never heard of. We did a 1-hour thing looking at cosmetic surgery, and he was in the operating room with me, and eventually he actually did surgery with me. And he asked me a question while the camera was rolling. So, Dr. Amron, do you think what you do is more science or artistry? And I said, that's a really interesting question. I never really quite thought of that. I guess it starts with science, but it becomes artistry also. So the science is important because it provides the information, the understanding, and of course artistry is important, but there's another level in between, and that's actually the engineering and the design of things. Even before you start the artistry, you've got to like design and engineer. So I had my inspirations with that in people like Edison and Da Vinci. And then of course artistry. I mean, it's commonly, you know, thrown out, you know, cosmetic surgery and liposculpture is very artistic, and it really is. It is. There is a lot of artistry to it, to how you're looking at things, to how you're kind of going about doing things, what you've designed. There definitely is a lot of artistry in medicine. They call it the art of medicine, and there is an art. But definitely liposculpture is incredibly artistic, the procedure itself. And so I had my influences with that too. When I was a kid, I traveled to Europe with my parents. I was again 9 years old, and I saw Rembrandt's paintings, that self-portrait of himself, and it just kind of really struck me as, wow, that's just amazing. And then years later, I went to Amsterdam and went to the Van Gogh exhibit and was really taken by Van Gogh and all the work that he did. So certainly artistry enters into my background and one of my inspirations. And the reason I wanted to mention this is that lately I've been watching a lot of things on television, biographies and certain shows and things on Netflix, and I'm realizing that I'm really drawn to an area that I kind of now understand makes sense and tells kind of the whole story of the development of myself with my inspirations, is I'm watching these shows on extreme athletes. And one of the things I'm really mesmerized by is people like Alex Honnold, who's part of the movie Free Solo, where he climbed El Capitan with no ropes, just free-handed. And another show called The Alpinist, and just, things like that just really just mesmerized me in terms of the focus that a lot of these athletes have with what they're doing. And it's certainly a very physical act. They've designed things properly, but it's very, very physical. And I'll say this, that lipedema surgery is a very, very physical procedure. It's something you've got to be very, very zoned into. It is hard surgery. It's surgery that takes a lot of focus, a lot of dedication, a lot of physicalness. But a lot of my inspiration comes from watching people like that do amazing things physically, and the focus and the dedication and the concentration it takes to be at a high level with things. And that's, now a lot of my inspiration, because all the other things are behind me. The understanding, the science, the righteousness, the artistry, and now it's about the physical work of just getting the best result every single time. And then finally, I want to just say that my first inspiration, and really my last, is my parents. They have, were wonderful an inspiration to me. Good people, hardworking. They both passed away in the last year and a half. My mother first, then my father. So they were just the most amazing inspiration for me. And I hope I can be an inspiration for my children who are now developing, and they go on a wonderful path also. So thank you for listening. This is Lippy Logic with Dr. David Amron at the Lippy Lounge. God bless you.